Everything Sweet Baby Ink touches turns to trash, and they definitely are drawing in a certain crowd of developers who, of course, want to be with the times and create games for modern audiences. And of course, the disclaimer that was on the Tomb Raider 1 to 3 remaster collection has gone pretty viral on social media, and there have been some developers who have spoken out on it, praising Crystal Dynamics and Aspyr for putting this warning on their game and for rewriting history. I have a few things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, I'm sure many of you have already seen this content warning. It's gone pretty viral on social media, but Crystal Dynamics had condemned the offensive depictions of people and cultures in the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered, saying the games in this collection contain offensive depictions of people and cultures rooted in racial and ethnic prejudices. These stereotypes are deeply harmful, inexcusable, and do not align with our values at Crystal Dynamics. Rather than removing this content, we have chosen to present it here in its original form unaltered in the hopes that we may acknowledge its harmful impact and learn from it. So this was the content disclaimer when you first boot up these games, and a lot of people were talking about, a lot of people have been debating on whether or not they should have even put this disclaimer in the first place, but Compulsion Games decided to make a statement on this, retweet this post, and talk about it. Their official account, which, yes, on X has 33,000 followers, said many video games are a product of the times they were created in. As we look to recreate and remaster these stories for modern audiences, it's important to consider the implications of these harmful portrayals and do our part to rewrite new history, not repeat it. I think they meant write new history, not repeat it, or rewrite history, not repeat it. They're getting their wires crossed there a little bit. I mean, this is straight up revisionism. We applaud our peers at Crystal Dynamics for their reflections and corrections. And of course, they've gotten absolutely blasted over this post. People are responding in droves to them, but this is such an awful statement for so many reasons, okay? They are such dumbasses, and their games will never sell. They will never become a well-known, respected AAA developer when they make statements like this, because normal people will never buy the BS they're selling. Most people will read this statement and go, oh, okay, I'm definitely gonna stay away from them now, and then move on with their lives. People can see through this virtue signaling bullshit from a mile away now. This isn't 2019, okay? People know what companies and activists like this are trying to pull now. Your message won't sell. No one wants it, and modern audiences companies like this keep referring to don't actually exist. They are straight up saying that revisionism is good, that Crystal Dynamics honestly should have rewritten these portions of the Tomb Raider games and gotten rid of the content that they find offensive. Of course, they're praising them because they didn't want to publicly trash them, but this is what happens, and this is how things like censorship start. Okay, it starts with a content warning saying, hey, listen, some things in this might be offensive, and then people are like, okay, at least it's just a content disclaimer. But then maybe in the next remaster collection they do something's altered, something's edited, and then of course, oh, you know, people try to say it's one little change, it's not that serious. Like in this Tomb Raider collection, they boast about how they wanted to release these games in their original forms unaltered, but they ended up censoring, you know, graphics on jackets because, you know, they showed a little bit of nipple, even though they're rated M for mature in this collection. But you know, they are praising Crystal Dynamics and this content warning, and also saying that they want to do their part to rewrite history, not repeat it. Okay, there are a lot of inaccurate depictions that do exist in movies and video games and more that were never meant to be offensive, and they don't need to be apologized for, because in this case, of course, why Crystal Dynamics put this disclaimer on the collection is because of the way that the Polynesian tribe is depicted in the third Tomb Raider game. And even if things age less gracefully than others, that doesn't mean that they should be erased from history, and people shouldn't be forced to apologize, and companies shouldn't offer apologies when all of two people are offended. And if you're a creative and think these things are so wrong, then yeah, okay, go and create something that's wildly different, but just know somebody will be upset with you at some point, and by trying to water content down and offer apologies to not offend people, that does not actually work. But of course, when I started looking into Compulsion Games, I wasn't really that surprised to see right smack dab on the front of Sweet Baby Inc.'s projects page, their new game South of Midnight pops right up. They worked on story development, script writing, cultural, and character consultation. So of course, Compulsion Games is a company that basically wants everybody to work with someone like a Sweet Baby Inc. They want things to be watered down now for modern audiences, even though the concept of a modern audience doesn't actually exist. These companies just keep referring to modern audiences, even though that really just boils down to sensitive snowflakes who are offended over literally everything. And if you've never heard of Compulsion Games, of this developer, they were founded in 2009 and have had one hit game, We Happy Few, but Microsoft really sure knows how to pick them because they actually bought Compulsion Games in 2018. And their new game that is coming out, of course, seems that it is going to be pretty culturally sensitive. But if you haven't heard of it, because let's be honest, nobody's really talking about it, South of Midnight is a new action adventure from Compulsion Games. Explore the mythos and confront mysterious creatures of the Deep South in this modern folktale, while learning to weave an ancient power to surmount obstacles and face the pain haunting your hometown. So, of course, right there they have like modern folktale. I'm sorry, I do not want a modern folktale. I'm not going to be purchasing or playing this game, but as you can see, it's set in the South. There's a black lead character. One would assume that they, yes, most likely are going to be talking about things like racism. We do not know for sure, but she definitely seems like a strong, independent woman, and they have said that this game is going to be pretty heavy. It's going to be for adults because of some of the dramatic themes that are in the game. And so of course it's real no surprise to see Compulsion Games put out a statement like this that really just screams Sweet Baby Inc. and ultimately decide to hide responses and lock the responses because they were getting destroyed by people who were extremely upset. There were, comments like, no, it's not your job to rewrite any history. These games aren't a product of their time either. They're art, and yes, sometimes art can be deemed offensive, but that doesn't mean that you should change it just because you might find it offensive. I mean, that's what it boils down to. People are also saying things like, what are modern audiences? Were the audiences of 1996 stark mad racists? Yeah, no, of course not. But of these developers and these creatives that are part of this at least want to apologize. Companies act all the time like audiences then are drastically different from audiences now, but that is just not the case, and we've seen that time and time again with all of these woke projects that have failed. Nobody wants narratives or the message shoved into content, and that is all that these companies are doing now. I honestly think that it is hilarious how they are getting absolutely destroyed by people on social media. It will be interesting to see over the next couple of days if anybody else makes statements on this content disclaimer. If there are any other developers who maybe work with Sweet Baby Inc. that make statements on it. Sweet Baby Inc. of course has their X account locked, and they have had it locked for months at this point because they know most people in the gaming industry absolutely hate them. But it will be interesting to see what else happens and if Compulsion Games tries to make a follow-up post to this and gets destroyed on that one too. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.